Readers. Today we are reading chapter 11 of The Lemonade War. We are getting so close to the end, finding out what actually happens with Evan and Jesse. And if we think back to yesterday's read aloud, we remember that Jesse told a little bit about why Evan might be mad at her to her mom. And she thought that Evan would be upset if he found out that she had told her mom that. Also, we found out that Jesse did something really not nice. Do you remember what that was? We found out that Jesse decided to put gnats and fruit flies and bugs and dirt into Evan's lemonade, and he didn't notice, and he left to go sell his lemonade without looking back into the bucket of lemonade. And so she did that to sabotage him. And I'm wondering if in chapter 11, it tells us when Evan found out and what he did when he found out that his lemonade was not any good anymore. So chapter 11 is called a total loss. The definition that's given to us says, total loss, goods so damaged that there's no point in repairing them, or they can't be repaired at all. Does this tell us maybe a little bit about what this chapter might be talking about? I think so. The first cup was easy to sell. The second cup, too. It was on the third cup that a little girl, about 6 years old, said, "Ew, there's a bug in my drink." Then her brother said, "There's one in mine, too." "Gross," said an older boy on a skateboard. "There are like 3 in mine. I want my money back," he said, dumping his lemonade on the ground. The mother of the little girl and boy looked into their cups carefully. "I think you need to check your lemonade, honey," she said to Evan. Evan unscrewed the cap and everyone looked in. The surface was swimming with dead bugs, fruit flies, worms, and soggy brown caterpillars. "Oh my goodness," said the mother. The boy started spitting on the ground like he was going to die. The girl started wailing, "Mommy, I drank bugs. I have bugs in my tummy." Evan couldn't believe his eyes. How did this happen? He had screwed the lid on so tightly. He was sure of it. And anyway, 1 or 2 bugs crawling in, maybe. But 50 dead fruit flies and 2 inchworms and a caterpillar? It's just impossible. Evan was burning with embarrassment as everyone looked at him and his buggy lemonade. Frantically, he reached into the cooler and started to scoop out the dead bugs with his hands. "Oh, sweetheart," said the mother, "you can't sell this lemonade." "I'll get them all," said Evan. "I'll get them all, every last one out." "No, dear, you really can't. You need to dump it out," she said. Evan looked at her like she was crazy. Dump it out? Dump it out? He'd spent $40 he had earned on that lemonade and another $1 for the cups. He wasn't just going to dump it out. "I'll do it at home," he said. "No, you should do it here, I think. I need to be sure it's all disposed of properly." Evan looked at her. He didn't know her, but he knew her type. Boy, did he know her type. She was the type of mother who thought she was the mother of the whole world. If you were on a playground and she thought you were playing too rough, she'd tell you. If you were chewing gum in line at 7-Eleven, she'd say, "I sure hope that's sugarless." Mothers like that never minded their own business, or just like their kids' business. They thought they had to take care of every kid in the kingdom. "It's too heavy for me to dump," he said. "I'll take it home and my mom can help." "I'll help," she said. All we need to do is tip it a little." She grabbed the handle of the big cooler. Evan had no choice but to grab the other handle. Together they tipped the lemonade and it poured out of the top of the cooler. They poured and poured and poured. The lemonade sparkled in the sunlight like a bejeweled waterfall, and then disappeared without a trace, soaking into the parched September grass. As the last lemonade slipped out of the cooler, a slick of mud poured out. "Oh my goodness," said the mother. Evan couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe how quickly his victory had turned into defeat. It was just like the lemonade. It had disappeared into the grass, leaving nothing behind. A total loss. Evan walked home slowly, dragging the wagon with the empty cooler rattling inside. With every step he took, the wagon handle poked him in the rear end. Step, poke, step, poke. He felt like someone was nudging him forward. "Evan, Mom wants to see you in your office. Right away." That had been weird. His mom had no idea what he meant. "I didn't call you." I didn't call anyone, she had said. I've been on the computer. Evan, Mom wants to see you. He had been coming up the stairs, and Jessie had been in the garage. She had looked anxious. Right away, she had added. Evan stopped walking. He stared at the empty cooler, and then he started to run. The wagon bounced crazily along the uneven sidewalk. Twice it tipped over. What did it matter, thought Evan angrily. There's no lemonade to spill. By the time he got home, he had figured it all out. He looked in the trash can and found 3 Ziploc bags. Inside and out was sticky with lemonade. He shook the fruit bowl and noticed how few fruit flies took to the air. If he'd had the right materials, he would have dusted the cooler with fingerprints, but there was really no need for that. He knew he knew what he would have found. Jessie was all over this one. That rat! That lousy, stinking rat of a sister! He shouted. He went back into the garage and kicked the wagon. He knocked the cooler to the floor. He tore up his lemonade on wheels sign into a dozen pieces. He was going to lose. She had $100, he was sure of it, and he had just 62 left. Tonight, before the fireworks, when they counted their money, she would be the winner and he would be the loser. Winner takes all. Loser gets nothing. It was so unfair. Evan stomped upstairs to his room. He slammed the door so hard it bounced open again. When he went to close it, he was staring across the hallway, straight into Jessie's room. He could see her neatly made bed covered in pillows, the poster of Bar Harbor from their trip to Maine this summer, and her night table with Charlotte's Web at the ready. Evan crossed the hall, then paused at Jessie's door. There was one rule about not entering. Well, she'd broken the rule first, even though they weren't really a rule about fruit flies and lemonade. It was clearly a dirty trick. Evan walked in and went straight to Jessie's desk drawer. There was a fake pack of gum inside the key. Did she really think he wouldn't know where she hid it? He'd seen her slip that key inside the box when he was passing by on his way to the bathroom. Jessie was smart, but she wasn't very smooth. He'd known for about months where the key was hidden. He just hasn't bothered to use it. Until now. It took him a little while to find the lockbox. He checked under the bureau drawers first, and then under Jessie's bed. But finally he found it hidden in her closet. Again, not very smooth. Evan carried the key and the lockbox back to his room and sat on the bed. He put the key in the lock and opened the top. Then, the moment of truth. He lifted the plastic change tray. There were a whole bunch of scraps of paper on top, and there was a folded index card too. Evan moved these aside and found a $10 bill paperclipped to a birthday card. Under that was an envelope labeled pre-war earnings, with $4.42 inside. That was the money that Jessie had before the lemonade war began. She'd kept it separate, just like she promised. Next to it was a fat envelope labeled lemonade earnings. Evan opened the envelope. Inside, the bills were arranged by 1s, 5s, and 10s. All the bills were facing the same way, too, so that the eyes of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Alexander Hamilton all were looking at Evan as he counted out the cash. $208. There it was, the winning wad. Evan thought how hard he'd worked for that week, in the blazing sun, in the scorching heat. He thought about that cooler full of lemonade pouring into the grass. He thought about handing over his $62.11 to Jessie, and how she'd smile and laugh and tell everyone that she had won the lemonade war. The guys would all shake their heads. What a loser. Megan would turn away. What a stupid jerk. Evan slammed the lid of the lockbox shut. He stuffed the envelope in his shorts pocket. He was not going to let this happen. He wasn't planning to keep the money, not for good. He was going to give it to her later tonight. But when it came time to show their earnings, he'd have $62.11, and she'd have nothing. He'd give her the money back tomorrow, or maybe the day after, but not tonight. He suddenly felt desperate to get out of the house and as fast as he could. He shoved the lockbox back into Jessie's closet and the key back into the fake pack of gum. "Hey, Mom," he shouted, not even waiting for an answer. "I'm going to the school to see if there's a game, 'kay?" And that is the end of chapter 11. Chapter 12 we will do tomorrow. There is no response form for today. Just enjoy your read aloud. And I will see you back here for Chapter 12 tomorrow.